Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. The Atheist Experience is live, August the 10th, 2003. I'm your host, Martin Wagner, Ashley Perrien, my co-host as always.
Afternoon.
And joining us on the air is Andy Roberts, back, and you're moving away.
Yeah,
So,
unfortunately.
We're going to law school.
Well, not for another year, but I
Okay.
have to move to keeping state tuition in Arkansas.
So
I can
right.
afford law school.
So you're partying in, and then...
A year of working.
Oh, okay. That's right, because you have to afford the partying, and then you start. So, excellent. So, I'd like to have you on the air one last time. That'd be great. So, he's been a great crew member, saved our bacon many a time. So, I appreciate that. And all right, basic announcements. This show is sponsored by Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. ACA has weekly meetings every Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. at Hot Jumbo Bagels, which is located downtown at 307 West 5th Street, except for the first Sunday of each month when we have our lecture series in the Mayor Room of the Austin History Center, which is downtown at 9th and Guadalupe. In September, our lecturer will be Jeff D., the former host of this show and the current host of the Nonprofits Internet Radio Show. And his topic will be transhumanism, which is something he's very passionate about and quite an interesting subject. So that's going to be good. Enjoy that. So other ACA events include Godless Gamers, which is Monday nights at the home of Russell and Virginia Glasser, and ACA Happy Hour, which is a Thursday evening get-together at Antonio's Tex-Mex, which is near the intersection of Highway 183 and I-35. It starts roughly 7:30ish, but people trickle in and out all evening long. So look for the table with a little Darwin fish on it, and that will be us. Okay, so I mentioned the nonprofits. Here are the details. It is our bi-weekly internet radio show, which is broadcast over the atheistnetwork.com website. You can also access the live stream directly from our website on the radio show page. Russell has just created a link right there to the direct stream. The next show will be this coming Saturday?
Yes.
So this coming Saturday they'll have their next one. And that is hosted by Jeff D. And Russell Glasser's on, Vic Farrow, whoever else is hanging out at Russell's house that day gets to be on the show. But it's 90 minutes of news analysis and yelling back and forth, and it's great fun to listen to, and there's an interactive chat room feature where you can also, if you're at the atheistnetwork.com site, log into the chat room and interact with the program. And that is at 2 in the afternoons every other Saturday. It's the first and the third Saturdays of each month, and if there happens...
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Now it's just plain old every other Sunday.
Oh, just every other Saturday, you mean?
Saturday, yeah.
But is it...
It's not necessarily going to be
the first and the third.
the first, third, and fifth Sunday. It's just going to be every other Saturday.
They continue to confuse us.
So
Must be part of their...
one of the co-host schedules was in conflict.
Their diabolical hidden agenda is... Okay, so, all right. Fine, well then, what he said. And it's at atheistnetwork.com every other Saturday, though not necessarily the first and third, 2 p.m. bi-weekly, next episode, August 16th, blah, blah, blah. All right, and last but not least, University Atheists and Agnostics, a registered UT student organization, started up by our very own Charles Tabney. They had a great first year, and they're looking forward to an even better second year, starting up with the fall semester, taking the summer off, like all good college students should. But as soon as we know the meeting times and the meeting room for the fall semester, which probably be in about a month or two, we'll let you know. UAA@mail.utexas.edu. Right there at the bottom of your screen is the email address to ask Charles questions about the group. If you are a UT student or faculty member and are an atheist, this is a group for you. First really successful atheist student group at UT, at least that I can remember. And I've been in Austin many years. So great. I think that takes care of announcements. Before, I want to flip sort of the order of things, though, at the beginning. And before we get into news, just talk to Andy really quickly about, since you're leaving and you're going off to parts unknown to save the world as a lawyer and everything. So what are you, give us some of your impressions about being part of ACA and what you hope to do in the future. And
Well, I really hope to be able to come back to Austin and be in ACA again. I love it. I'd never met another atheist in person before because I lived in Northeast Arkansas, which is really closed-minded, run by the Baptists. And moving down here and getting involved in ACA was just, I've grown so much. I've learned to argue better than I ever did before. And
that'll help in court too.
Yeah, that'll help out.
You're in law school. Just stay in ACA.
But I've also learned to be more comfortable with who I am because living in Arkansas before, came out about being atheist, and I literally got stalked by some people on the campus trying to give me Bibles all the time. That doesn't make you really comfortable about being, different. So ACA has just given me the whole way to be who I am and not worry about it. So I've enjoyed it.
Oh, well, I'm glad. And we hope you get to come back too. That's one of the purposes of ACA, and of course of this show is our number one outreach with the group, and it's a way that a lot of it's just natural in our predominantly religious culture for unbelievers to feel like they just don't know who to talk to, and you don't know, and it's the kind of thing you keep quiet about and you keep closeted. I think when Jeff was the host of the show, he expressed the view that atheists right now culturally are sort of in the place where gays and lesbians were, like in the mid to late 60s.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Where there are some, but nobody talks about it, and it's and it was a long time coming before to get that sort of level of acceptance in culture. Like this is who we are, and sort of accepting the diversity. And there is still a problem today. While racial minorities and gays and lesbians have made a lot of strides towards getting accepted as part of a diverse culture, atheists still, have a lot to overcome there.
Yeah, and ACA plays a big part into that, just here in Austin, getting more accepted. And
well, we try. We sure try. Well, great. Well, good luck at school.
Thank you.
And stay sober most of the time. And, because none of us did. And so, we know where we speak. And, no, you know what happened? I don't know if this happened. When I turned legal, drinking lost all of its allure. And I didn't do it nearly as much. It's like the partying got less interesting once it was okay.
Yeah, well, this last week and a half or 2 weeks, I've been drinking a lot just because I had my birthday, I'm moving, and I'm graduating from school.
But that's celebrating, so that's okay. That's normal.
Yeah, so all that's in a 2-week period. But
it's college. Yeah.
But since I turned 21, my drinking's just gone. I used to drink.
Yeah, who cares if you can't get in trouble for it anymore? Who cares?
Yeah.
There you go. No, but we know you're going to do great, and we hope you get to come back. And you're going to stay on our mailing list, right? Are you going to try to?
Yeah, I'm going to try.
So we'll still have email.
Oh, I've got to keep up with y'all. Y'all are my sanity sometimes.
Uh-oh. Well, we'll take care of that.
Yeah, especially Ashley. Ashley, when I get some of these forwards, these really Christian pit of the butt forwards, I email them to Ashley with my little vent about them. So
you should just email them to Ashley. Period. Just and pretend you're someone else. And just send him 500 in one day.
Yeah, but now that you said that in front of him, he'll know who it was.
No, he may think it's me pretending to be you, and it's all a big... Yeah.
It's all a big conspiracy against me. Against me and my email box.
All right. Well, great. Well, Ashley, what is happening in the world? Tell us the news.
Okay.
What's going on?
All right. First one, a couple updates this week, actually.
Hang on. Just in a couple minutes, we'll go ahead and put the TV show phone number up, the live number. This is... Just wanted to toss this out before I forget. This is a live call-in show. We've been on the air about a little over 5 years, 5.5 years.
Long time.
And we're here to take live phone calls and discuss religion and what atheism is and what have you. But if this is your first time to view the show, and every week we seem to have new viewers who surf past us and find us, at our website at atheist-community.org, we have a fact page, our frequently asked questions, where we have accumulated over the years all of the most common questions that we get from our religious callers, and we put them up on the site. So if this is the first time for you to tune in, there we are, website, and you've never seen us before, and you just had some basic fundamental questions about what atheism is and what atheists think about stuff, try looking at our fact page first if you have internet access, because maybe we've already answered your questions. And if not, well then call us up anyway and talk to us. Here in a few minutes, we'll go ahead and get that phone number up, but now it's time for the news with Ashley.
Okay. All right, first one, quick updates on old Roy Moore, the Alabama Supreme Court, or Alabama Supreme Court Chief Justice Roy Moore. everybody knows the basic story here. If you've watched the show more than once even, he moved a big old 2.5-ton granite monument to the Ten Commandments into the Alabama building, planted it there in the dead of night, allowed his one Christian video station to,
No, it was D. James Kennedy. And
some kind of ministry.
Yeah, Coral Ridge Ministries. D. James Kennedy. And I have to finish writing my rebuttal of his book, but he's
But yeah, they moved this monument in the dead of night.
D. James Kennedy and Coral Ridge also, they have an organization with the creepy name of the Center for Reclaiming America, which is this openly theocratic political action committee, basically. It's a PAC. And so, this is the mindset of the people doing this. I mean, these are theocrats. These are people who don't want America to be, to be a diverse democracy anymore.
Definitely.
They want it to be. They want Christianity to be the official state religion of America. Yeah. And anything they say to the contrary to this, just they're just pretending.
So
anyway, what's he up to now?
Yep, he put the monument in, went to court. They said move it out. He appealed. Move it out again. Now they've actually finally given a deadline. They've said August 20th. It's got to be out of there. 15 days from last Tuesday. So he's got a little over a week left. Now, if there's a finding of civil contempt, the court could. Now, basically, the story here is that he may just plain old ignore it, and just decide not to do anything about it. Kind of breaking the laws and questionable, but. If there's a finding of civil contempt, the court could levy substantial fines against Chief Justice in his official capacity, and thus against the state of Alabama itself, until the monument is removed. For example, the court could levy a fine of $5,000 a day for the first week, and with the amount of the fine to perhaps double at the beginning of each and every week thereafter, to the extent allowed by law. Could get real expensive.
Off the budget crisis.
Well, this is just so insane, right? I mean, Judge Ron Morris decided that he's enjoying being a martyr for Jesus, so he's going to do that.
Exactly, and it's exactly his stance.
But now he's going to be the one fined. If he's held in contempt, the fine would be levied against him, right?
In his official capacity.
So
it's taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
So it would be $5,000 of the taxpayers' money every day,
plus over $1 million, which have already gone to legal fees to defend him.
Yeah, and this guy
actually, when I looked that over, that was $1 million for the plaintiffs, and the plaintiffs are the ones that brought the case.
Yeah.
Let me see. They had $1 million number in here. Legal bills for the plaintiff's attorneys are approaching $1 million. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So.
Well, he has D. James Kennedy, but he's got the state's war chest also. But So this guy could just be draining the tax resources of the state of Alabama for his own personal, religious crusade here.
Yeah.
And he's arrogant enough to do that.
Yep. And he didn't even bother to say anything about having to move it out or anything like that. He actually had his secretary issue a little release. This is judicial tyranny by a federal district court calculated to intimidate and cause the Chief Justice of Alabama to violate his oath of office to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Alabama. What a moron.
Yeah. This guy has a funky concept of upholding his oath of office.
Well, according to him, both of those specifically mandate an acknowledgement of God upon which the justice of this state depends. So, apparently, according to him, the Constitution says we have to recognize God.
Okay, this is why we've got to get out of this practice of having political appointees sworn into office by putting their hand on a frickin' Bible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's actually not an appointee. He was elected.
Elected, right. But he was still sworn in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's just a complete, they should have their hand on a copy of the Constitution, how about? I think that would be a revolutionary idea.
Yeah.
So. Something that, the thing that our laws are actually based upon. So.
Well, they're kind of hoping that he will, attorneys for the Southern Poverty Law Center and Americans United for Separation of Church and State lauded Thompson's order and said they hoped Moy would remove the monument without creating a further spectacle and costing taxpayers more money. This monument is becoming a millstone around the neck of Alabama. It's time to let reason prevail over politics. However, Judge Thompson tried to be real careful to avoid inciting any kind of confrontation. By his actions, the Chief Justice seems to be itching for a fight, Cohen said. It's quite a spectacle to see a Chief Justice threaten to defy a federal court order. It's pretty obvious that he's trying to provoke some confrontation so he can position himself as a martyr, the way George Wallace used race in his political advantage.
That is 100%. That's a bullseye.
So yeah, he's just trying to.
That's a field goal from the 50-yard line on that assessment. That's yeah.
So yeah, Judge Roy Moore, after being federally ordered to remove this monument, could just not do it. Screw you.
He's got a Messiah complex. He wants to be Jesus.
Yeah.
He wants to be crucified, by all the evil, horrible, godless, Roman liberals in this country.
Yeah.
And
it's
be a hero.
All the liberals saying, Jesus Christ, what the hell is he doing?
All right. Well, Joy.
Okay, next story.
What else?
We have got the federal government of apparently Dutsi, which is I was trying to find the actual Nigeria. I'm sorry.
Oh, Nigeria. That bastion of progressive thought. Yeah,
progression and reason. Yeah.
Oh boy.
The federal government has been warned that attempt to abrogate capital punishment could lead to serious communal disturbances because it would challenge to the effective implementation of Sharia in states that have adopted the legal system.
This is the federal government in Nigeria?
Yes.
Okay. Although, don't they already have Sharia law?
Apparently, it might be like part of the party. It may not be an entire type thing, but
do you have any? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So. I know that. I mean, they're one of the countries that has Sharia law, like in place and very much.
Yeah.
Affecting people.
And they apparently they're trying to possibly have an abolition on the death sentence over there.
Mm-hmm.
Opposition to the proposed legal reform was expressed by the Emir of Dutsi, the national president of the Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria, and a former minister of special duties. The Emir of Dutsi warned that Nigerian Muslims would revolt against any attempt to abolish capital punishment in the country, describing the attempt as anti-Islam and an attack on the fundamental beliefs of the Islamic faith. In an interview with the Daily Trust, Emir warned that dire consequences should any policy attempt to encroach on the right of Muslims to practice their religion as ordered by the Almighty Allah. Apparently, they need to fight to keep their religious rights to kill each other.
To execute people for crimes.
Execute people.
Such crimes as having sex out of wedlock or something.
Or being raped.
Yeah. So they're trying to essentially kill each other and get it legalized.
Well, then I'm on their side. let's not have. Let's not have. These people like that are run the risk of turning me against capital punishment. I'm all for not having. Let's have capital punishment in Nigeria. So you could say that. I mean, all the wackos will knock each other off. But no, that's what happens.
Unfortunately, the wackos are knocking off everybody else.
The way they want to implement it, right, is
the wackos whacking off everybody.
Well, yeah, the people being unfairly accused of things that they shouldn't be unfairly accused of, and punishments being inflicted that are not fitting the crimes.
Yeah, basically punishments that were dictated by their big invisible space thing.
Right.
So, who said that they should die because they stole a loaf of bread or something like that. So they're going to kill people for that.
There's a lot of problems in Nigeria.
Yeah,
a lot going on.
So,
isn't that where they have isn't Nigeria the country where they've got that woman who got pregnant? She had sex out of wedlock, and so they sentenced her to be stoned to death. But they postponed it. They give her time to wean that. Yeah, but isn't that still under appeal, or did they finally stone her to death?
I think they decided that no, they're not going to.
Why would they? I
can't remember actually. I know this one you're talking about. That was a while ago. Yeah. That was.
We think we would have heard if they'd done it.
So
So
they might not have.
But I think that is. I think that's Nigeria where that's taking place. I could be wrong. I don't want to.
Yeah.
But boy.
Okay.
All right. Any more?
Yep. A couple more. This is another update. We had a story a couple weeks ago about President Bush trying to get another one of these faith-based programs into actual federal prisons now.
That's right.
It was called Interchange.
Yeah, we talked about that quite a bit.
And it's according to this, it's a prison fellowship to start Interchange Freedom Initiative, a Bible-centered prison within a prison where inmates undergo vigorous evangelizing, prayer sessions, and intense counseling. And they had some studies that showed that this was highly effective, and the people who actually got out of the program, who went through the program, had much lower. They went back to prison a lot less.
Recidivism.
There.
What she said.
Andy, with the save.
Unfortunately,
So something's come to light about this.
Something has come to light about the little study that they did that showed that it's such a wonderful program.
Success.
Exactly. Let's see. When you look carefully at the Penn study, which is the one that showed that it's such a wonderful thing, it's clear that the program didn't work. The interchange participants did somewhat worse than the controls. They were slightly more likely to be rearrested and noticeably more likely, 24 versus 20%, to be re-imprisoned. Now, the crux is Interchange started with 177 volunteer prisoners, but only 75 of them graduated. Graduation involves sticking with the program, not only in prison, but after release. No one counted as a graduate, for example, unless he got a job. Naturally, the graduates did better than the control group. Anything that selects out a group of ex-inmates for who holds a job is going to look like a miracle cure.
So then what they did was when they announced, oh, look at these figures showing how successful our program is.
They looked at the 75 graduates.
They completely pretended that the 102 guys who dropped out didn't exist.
Didn't
they ignored the 102 dropouts and only focused on the 70.
Exactly.
Gee, that's kind of
that makes a whole lot
dishonest.
Yep. The interchange cheerleaders simply ignored the other 102 participants who dropped out, were kicked out, or early parole and didn't finish.
Well, isn't that typical of religious groups anyway? Let's not look at the stuff that hurts us and only focus on what helps.
Or just fudging figures all across the board. Like, I know the Catholic Church in America has been notorious for claiming that its membership is higher than it really is by virtue of the fact that if you're baptized at all, like as a little baby, they keep your name on the membership roster forever, even if you, from that moment on, never darken the door of the church again. So
even apparently, if you write to the church and say Jesus does not exist, I do not believe any of this garbage, and I want to be taken off the list, they still refuse.
Or
just
ask to be excommunicated.
Exactly, which is that one guy in England, I think, who wrote and said, "I want to be excommunicated." And none of this stuff matters. It's all fake. It's all myth.
And they wouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
He's getting through a phase. Yes. So
exactly.
He'll get better.
Yeah. So
there's you'll hear all of these fudged figures and trying to make it sound like they're doing a lot better than they really are.
And some of the fudging, I mean, apparently you should have had people looking at this obviously a little bit closer.
Yes.
But all of the facts reported above come straight from the original report. But the study goes out of its way to put a happy face on the sad results. Apparently, the Prison Fellowship press office simply wrote a press release. Essentially, they wrote a press release with all the facts, but they put the good stuff right at the top, took the other 102, put them right down in a footnote.
Yeah.
Other people get a hold of the press release, they just skim it over really quickly. They see, my God, this thing is wonderful.
Right. Nobody.
And then they report off the press release.
No news editor is going to get, your lead, you're going to work off your lead.
Exactly.
And there it is, right.
So that's the main reason.
Yeah.
So of 177 people, only 75 of them actually graduated and were counted in the study.
Okay, so fewer than half. And then, but by only counting them in the study, it looks like, boy, we had 98% success.
Exactly.
And the agenda here, right, is to, what the Bush administration wants to do, and the conservatives want to do, is present these faith-based programs about which there is all sort of criticism. And they want to be able to come up with results that they can, rub in the nose of those of us who think that America should be secular and inclusive, and say, well, here is our program which has worked where all of your, godless liberal programs have failed. So what do you really want to do? Do you want to get rid of this, and you really want these guys going back to prison, or do you want to? And and they'll do anything they can just so they can have that in order to this, it's the wedge strategy, right? To wedge in more and more acceptance of faith-based programs until, after a few years go by, suddenly everything that is government-sponsored is religious, and, all non-religious need not apply.
Yeah.
Which is what I think the ultimate goal is. So. Yeah. But it didn't work here because somebody read, I guess, the press release all the way through.
Yeah, apparently somebody finally got around to actually reading the whole thing.
Yeah, you figured it. So wait a minute.
So it doesn't really say specifically in here. The article is by Mark Kleiman.
Okay.
I don't know of what was it? I don't even see the White House, the Wall Street Journal, and Christian Conservatives. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I don't even have the link of where this came from.
Okay. Well, I know that I think there's it's
Slate.
from Slate. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is an online magazine that's
Yep.
there's all kinds of exposés and stuff.
So,
All right, cool.
interchange is an inner flop.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even think about that till just now. Till just now, but we talk about it all the time how Christians take their books and stuff and they self-publish them. Don't try to send them to peer review anything.
Oh,
that was
like
a
when they're
press
attacking
release.
science,
That was a press release. There are journals on criminal justice and rehabilitation and sociology, and they put a press release and they didn't try to send it to a journal.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, they just went right to the media with
Go
it.
right to the popular press.
Yeah.
Where it's going to get well received.
Because that's where they're going to get the result they want.
Exactly.
They go to some
They would have caught that.
Yeah, academic journals, right, would have, it's not going to, give them the political results that they want. But, it's interesting to point out that when we originally had the first news item in Interchange during the show, I was talking to one of our, after the program, and this guy pointed out that any group, right, where people get together and they're like, okay, we're going to try to achieve something, and there is a definite goal in mind, like we want to rehabilitate because we're prisoners and we want to turn our lives around and do better for ourselves, what have you. And there is very strong social reinforcement within the group context. You're going to get you're going to get results. To a certain degree.
If you've got people working on this program who, really honestly cares about these people and shows them, here, I'm going to help you get a job when you get out of prison.
The other thing is they were volunteers, which means they were wanting help. Yeah. Like when I was taking juvenile delinquency at UT, my teacher was telling about his niece who ran away a lot, and they were trying to get her in a facility that help deal with that. And one of the criteria for being admitted into the facilities was you didn't want to run away anymore. They're like, we got a 98% success rate because everybody that comes in here has to not want to run away.
Yeah. So the ones who don't think they have a problem that needs fixing, and who think they have a perfectly good reason for being antisocial or doing whatever they're doing, they're not going to volunteer for the program in the first place. But it's what makes these kinds of programs work when they do work is the social reinforcement.
Yeah.
Any sort of support, any kind of support group, right? Whether it's you're recovering from alcoholism or drugs, or whether you're a survivor of violence or what have you, domestic violence or what have you. It's having the support network and the social reinforcement that makes it work. Take the mandatory church services out of this and still have job training. Mandatory. You got to get a job. You got to stick with the job. Everybody has to do more or less the same things that you do. They just don't have the.
You've got to be an active
attendance.
part of the community.
Yeah. And see if there's any real measurable difference in the recidivism results.
You wouldn't just take it out completely. You'd put in a control social group.
You put in a control group. Or, you can make that voluntary. You can still have it part of the program, but just make it voluntary, not mandatory. And make it once again ecumenical. This was strictly Christian.
Well, no, these people when they got out, they had to go to church.
Yeah.
I know.
I think 3 months or something like that after they got out.
Yeah. So if you were a Jewish or an Islamic or a Wiccan or a pagan or a Unitarian Universalist
or a
prisoner
rock climber
who wanted to get out and you couldn't
do this.
You could not have partaken in the interchange program even if you'd wanted to because
you have to go to
you have to go to their church and not yours, and they don't cater to you.
But again, if they would set up another program that does the same type of things, but just you form any sort of social group.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be it can be a church if you want, but hey, if you want to be a rock climber, go to the rock climbing society. And, just go social.
All right, it is time, I think, to go to the calls. Once again, thanks for calling, and I believe Ryan has been waiting patiently. He's first. Hey, you're on the air.
Hey, how you doing?
Just fine. What's going on?
I'm wondering if do y'all worship Satan?
Nope. No, he doesn't.
Don't believe in him either.
He doesn't exist either.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Y'all just neutral. Y'all agree on anything either way?
We don't
no
believe in any gods or any
Jesus,
magic
nothing?
supernatural beings.
Nothing like that? What about Jesus?
Well, there may have been a real person by the name of Jesus who existed that the Gospels were inspired by, but
do you believe he came back?
No.
He did not come back from the dead. He was not a supernatural being. He was not God. He didn't walk on water. Water to wine, at least not with the help of some, wheat and yeast.
Well,
Gotcha.
yeah. So we just don't believe those claims.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Clean.
Whatever.
Okay.
All right. Howard on line 2. Hey, how you doing?
All right, how are you today?
We are well.
Great. Well, I wanted to talk just briefly about the Episcopal Church thing and how it plays into the situation that the country finds itself in right now, and the world at large finds itself. I think that the discussion that's going underway in the about the gay
Bishop
and the marriage thing and all this stuff comes down to whether or not you believe in the Bible, what the Bible says regarding it, how you interpret that, and whether or not you really believe the Bible is inspired by God. It has or a God or something, is something other than man-made. And this is really the crux of the issue that we find ourselves with in this country right now. I really think there's a threat of theocrats taking control of this country. I see it already happening. Really, the president and some of his closest advisors are admitted. Years ago, I think about this. The Shriners. They're Masons, right?
Yeah. Are they Masons? I thought the Freemasons were. Are they connected to the Shriners?
They're Masons. It's an organization. It's a fraternal organization.
They're like the Freemasons, the Shriners.
Yes, they have a lot of similar. They're based on the knowledge that comes from. I'm not a Mason. I don't know that much about it, but I just know that the Shriners are very they're advanced Masons, and they're very they give back to the community and all this. And years ago, I was talking to somebody about it who was a Mason, and they told me that Catholics couldn't be Masons, Masons or Shriners, because their first allegiance was to the Pope, not to the country.
Okay.
All right.
And,
even regardless of what the Shriners believe or Masons or anything like that, I thought that was very interesting, because it seems like we're finding more and more that people, not just Catholics, but Christians, people who call themselves Christians, actually have more of an allegiance to God than they do to their country. And that would make sense, because if you really think that, this is just a transitory life that we're going to have, and later on we'll get to visit with God in heaven and all this stuff that's built around that, well, of course, that's a very powerful idea. Yeah. And that's why, and this goes back to, I wanted to call in about a month or so ago, because Ashley was talking about Harry Potter, and how, these people are up in arms about the witchcraft and all this kind of stuff, and how could they, don't they know it's just a story? Yeah. Well, that's what the Bible is. If you believe the stuff that's in the Bible, and believe that there's some supernatural being who came down and did all this stuff and intervened in human life and really has a vested interest in, what we do from day to day, if you really believe that stuff, well, of course you're going to believe Harry Potter. It's not nearly as bizarre.
Yeah, I know. When you are willing to accept fanciful, unproven, supernatural, superstitious beliefs, then there really is no litmus test, right? I mean, the magic spells and owls delivering your mail and flying through the air on brooms is really no different than turning water into wine and walking on water.
Oh yeah,
and having feeding 5,000 people with one loaf of bread and a fish. So it's
exactly.
Yeah, you make an interesting point about this increasing phenomenon of people religious people not caring about the laws of the land and thinking that they answer to some sort of higher law and that they're above the law. We were talking earlier, of course, about Roy Moore, who is supposed to be a man upholding the laws of the land, and yet he set himself above that. There's also...
right, and he should be repudiated from every corner of the land.
Absolutely.
Anybody who considers himself an American who fought in a war or wrapped himself in the flag or something like that should say to this guy, step down, you're an embarrassment to this country.
Yeah,
why don't I hear that? The president should be saying that.
I can't remember
Attorney General should stand up and say, you over there.
Yeah, but the problem is...
what we tell you.
The problem is the Attorney General is one of the Theocrats that you mentioned before.
Exactly.
I mean, we do
the Attorney General is an abomination.
Exactly.
I'd love to use that word in the secular context, yes, but he is.
I don't remember exactly who said it, but there was some news article that was saying that technically what he's doing is treason by not following court orders. He's not, the Constitution says, well, there is no, it's not technically written down separation of church and state, but essentially there are, court case against court case going for that idea.
Yeah.
And so by, ignoring all of that.
I'll tell you,
the legal precedents are all against
Madison, they're all turning in their graves right now because of what's going on in this country. Anybody who thinks they know something about what the founding fathers really believed, and if this is a Christian country, then we're headed down the toilet. And I'll tell you, not only that, the Theocrats are cut from the same cloth, whether they're Jews, whether they're Muslims, whether they're Christians, no matter what they are, it always leads to the same thing. It leads to them telling you how you live your life. And that's what they want to do in this country, and they're wrong about it. Not only are they wrong, the other thing that really makes me sad is that, and I've heard people on your show even say this, that if it wasn't for Jesus, they would have nothing to keep them from going out and murdering somebody.
Yep.
Yeah.
And to me, anybody who gets their morality from the Bible and doesn't understand that we have a much more important code to follow in our daily discourse, anybody who gets all their morality from this book of superstitions is right there. It loses credibility and is actually corrupt as far as I'm concerned. You have to have it because it's the wrong thing to murder somebody else.
When you adopt any sort of inflexible and absolutist definition of what morals are, you do run into problems. Getting back to, there was in the news recently, this couple who belonged to this organization called Christian Sovereignty. It's a sect.
Right.
This the Sovereign Church. I think it's a Sovereign Christian Fellowship. That's it. And
the nurse and the baby.
Yeah, the woman nursing the baby, and just setting aside that it's completely insane that here is this woman who has willingly put herself in this situation where she has to call her husband and ask him permission to do anything.
Including pull over for the police. But what is nuts is that, I've looked at their website, and they have essentially decided that they think the federal government is Satan, that the federal government is the beast, and that any numerical... She was driving with an expired driver's license, and so any numbered federal ID is the mark of the beast.
Right.
And these people are just beyond the pale, and they have just decided that our religious beliefs entitle us to break whatever law we feel like. And that's scary to me.
That's what that judge down there thinks right as well. And really, as far as I'm concerned, the highest legal entities in the country agree with him, from what I can tell.
Well, no, I mean he's been ordered to take the thing down. But he has a startling number of supporters in the political sphere, and just among people who are powerful, who are politically powerful.
The courts are generally
let me just tell you, one of the reasons I'm calling is that people have to vote because they're voting. The Theocrats and their minions are voting, and that's what's going to. It's only people going out who don't. Whether you agree about abortion or anything like that, you have to stop people who say that they base it all that this is what Tom DeLay said, that he has a biblical worldview. That person should be run out of government because the biblical worldview is disgusting.
Yeah, well, let me I don't disagree with you in principle, but now let's be clear, right? I mean, certainly Christians and religious people in this country have every right to run for office and to be part of office,
of course,
and to believe whatever they feel like. The only time you get a problem, right, is when you have somebody who allows those beliefs and confuses those beliefs with the laws of the land, thinks the beliefs are more entitled to being taken seriously than the laws of the land, and puts the beliefs above the laws. There's nothing wrong with being Christian.
Of making the laws of the land. That's what's scary.
Nothing wrong with being a Christian politician. As an American citizen, you can do that. But it's when you adopt the Judge Roy Moore attitude of, all right, now that I'm in, the law says this. No, I'm going to reinterpret it so that my beliefs are what is in. It takes precedence over everything else. Yeah, that's where that's just arrogance, and that's theocracy, and that's not what our country was set up for. What people don't understand is that it is only under a secular form of government that you can have true religious freedom. It's only under a secular government where every religion, theoretically at least, can be treated with more or less equal footing, where, if you want to be a Jew, if you want to be a Christian, if you want to worship ducks, whatever.
Right, exactly.
You can do it.
But what I would like to hear, and you guys are helping to do that, but, as far as I'm concerned, you take responsibility for your actions and your beliefs. If you go out and you say, I believe in this thing, well, I have every right to tell you, I think you're goofy. And if you're thumping on the
That's freedom of speech.
like the guys that, the guys who are on this station on, other times those three guys that sit around and, I forget what they're called, but
I know what you mean.
It's like
There's
they're just
a bunch of other shows.
They're just nuts, man. The stuff that they believe in, and it's so sad, because I'm sure they're basically good people, but they would be good people, without the Bible. So.
I think that anyone can, certainly can do that. Of course, it's upbringing has an effect, and
a lot of people have that one section of their life where they have just completely set aside rationality and logical thought, and just they have these beliefs.
Well, it's not so much that. Well, they've abrogated responsibility for coming up with their own ideas, and they have, and instead of that, they have decided to just attach themselves to
the very idea that you have your own ideas.
Inflexible dogma. Yeah.
This is part of the whole part of one of the main Christian beliefs, or the fundamentalist Christian beliefs, is that God is charting your life, and you really don't have any say in the matter.
Yeah.
And
but wait, you have free will,
and you have prayer.
Yes.
Well,
but if you make the wrong choice under your free will, you go to hell.
God, and try to save yourself from it. But it's not really the same thing. It's sort of like this. It's just this little game that's being played by this, trying to figure out what the obstacle course is for your particular religion. Which little hoops you have to jump through, and which hoops the other guys are jumping through that are wrong, and you might want to kill them for doing it. It's just one thing after the other. And the Episcopal Church is a perfect example of what's going on. Obviously, humans are a certain percentage of them are going to be homosexual.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what's interesting.
Beginning of time. It's just the way it is.
About that phenomenon is that what we are finding is that there is a general sense in the country. I think that people are becoming more and more desirous of having a tolerant and inclusive society on the whole. And the more conservative religious factions in this country are finding that they are out of step with the times on that, and they are becoming much more defensive and noisier. Now that we have this ordained gay bishop, there's more, and this was 50 years ago. You could point to the racial divisions in this country. The whole idea of when we had racial segregation and when that was considered the morally proper thing to do, and the idea of black people and white people intermingling. When that started becoming more and more acceptable in the 1950s, the conservatives, and I'm more socio-political than religious, but I'm sure there were some people who devoutly religious who were opposed to integration. They fought tooth and nail. They didn't want to be dragged into the 20th century.
But the
by
problem
accepting
is that you had enlightened people in government, high up in government at that point in time. Yeah. And Truman and Eisenhower, to their credit, even though they were people of their times, they were also visionary with regards to race. Certainly LBJ was, and Kennedy was. Right now, you have, as if you had George Wallace or Lester Maddox in the White House with regards to religion.
Yes.
And not only that, in the legislature. If every one of them is going to go out of their way to be to pound the Bible in one way, on both sides of the aisle. The thing that happened there a couple of weeks ago, or just recently, with this Judge Pryor, and they the Democrats were anti-Catholic, and that whole thing, playing that card.
Yeah.
This is a very divisive issue right now.
Just like Judge Roy Moore's doing, it's playing I'm being victimized, I'm being crucified.
Right.
Playing
the thing about the Pryor one though is it was a Protestant claiming that. Like 4 of the senators that blocked that nomination were Catholic. So it's a Protestant calling Catholics anti-Catholic.
Yeah.
Right. But they did it, and they went and they spent a huge amount of money. These people have way more money than sense, that's for sure. And they go and they get this idea out there that is basically a lie that is hinged on, it's just a house of cards because it's based on believing in a house of cards. Yeah. You have that as your foundation. You just keep layering one crazy thing on top of the other.
Yeah. Right.
This is what concerns me. This is basically what I'm saying is that...
Well, I agree with you, man. We should vote, and next year's 2004, so get out and vote, for dang sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'll get out of the way for the next person.
Yeah, but Howard, hey, we appreciate your input, all right? Thanks for your opinion.
Thanks.
Take care. It's very passionate.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent thing.
Yeah. I was going to talk a little bit more about the morals thing, but we can do that after, because I understand we have, and this is just a general throwing out to the peanut gallery at large. Remember, if you are an unbeliever, atheist, agnostic person, don't forget our Bagel Shop meetings. If you want to meet other like-minded folks, an atheist group, you're invited to come on out. The Bagel Shop meetings, of course, are for unbelievers only. So thanks very much, and I think I'll go ahead to caller on line 3. That would be John, because I think he has a follow-up to what Howard was talking about. Maybe he's got a different perspective. Hey, you're on the air.
Yeah, I just kind of had one question for y'all. I'm kind of curious. I'm not sure about the understanding about an atheist and an agnostic.
Okay. That's on the fact page. But if you didn't get a chance to read it, agnosticism is all about what a person thinks the limits of human knowledge are, and theism and atheism are terms that deal with what you believe or don't believe. So they deal with different things. Agnosticism or Gnosticism, that's all about knowledge, and theism and atheism is all about belief or disbelief.
Okay, so you're saying that you basically have a belief that there is no God as a theist or an atheist?
As an atheist, I don't believe that there are any gods. I'm also agnostic in that I admit that the existence of God can or can't be proven either way. I don't think that, I don't think that it is a Bible statement to say, there absolutely nothing that could possibly be called a God could possibly exist in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that that's a statement that can be supported. So in that regard, I'm agnostic. But I'm atheist in that, based upon what I consider to be a lack of evidence for a God's existence, I don't believe there is one. But that could change,
Okay, so
you could be agnostic and a theist at the same time. You could be somebody who says...
Most people are.
I can't prove that there's a God, but I believe there is one anyway. That would be somebody who's agnostic, but they're theistic, as opposed to atheistic.
So you would say you have faith in that there is no God?
Well, no. Disbelief doesn't require faith. It just requires a lack of evidence.
Well, according to Funk and Wagnall's College Standard Dictionary, which the definition of faith, the second definition, is a belief without need of certain proof.
Yeah,
that's right.
No belief.
That's right. And atheism is
so you have faith that there is no God.
Listen, one at a time, people. Atheism is disbelief. It's defined as disbelief because
you have a faith that there is no God.
No, I have disbelief.
Well, according to the dictionary, it says that you have a belief.
Okay.
No, you're reading the dictionary properly. Yeah. Look up disbelief. Look up the word disbelief.
Okay, I'll look up one even better for you. So therefore, if you have faith, you have a religion. So you have a religion that there's no God.
I think that you are unclear on the concept.
No, you just said you had a belief.
What you're trying to do?
You have a belief.
All right, listen. Faith. Okay, John, let's learn the English language here today. Okay, disbelief.
Well, I just read it word for word out of the dictionary. It says you have a belief in something that cannot be proven.
John, that is an agnostic position.
There's a God.
That is an
I want to know.
John, will you shut up for 2 seconds? Or is this a discussion? Okay.
That's the way to do it.
All right, so he was too cowardly to hear our answer or respond to it. Okay. Disbelief and belief are opposite English words. They mean the opposite thing. Disbelief is not the same thing as belief. Okay. People like John, who are desperate to make atheism out to be some sort of competing religion, want that to be the case because then truth gets to be the result of a popularity contest. It's like, oh, well, there are more people who believe in God than don't believe in God, so that must mean we're right because there's more of us.
Yeah.
Okay. But faith, precisely, it is, as he said, it is belief, okay, regardless of evidence. Yeah. It is belief even in the absence of evidence. Yeah. Atheists don't have a belief, we have a disbelief. Yeah. Disbelieving in the existence of God is not the same thing as believing that there isn't one, or that there are no gods. Disbelief does not automatically presume an oppositional belief. Yeah. Okay? Those people who understand how English works will understand that. So I guess that wasn't the guy who had a follow-up to Howard's call, right?
Apparently not.
Okay, must not be. Okay, well, we'll take Steve then on line 2, and we'll see about. Hi, you're on the air.
Hi, is this me?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to talk about the origins of morality or where morality comes from.
Okay.
That's been a topic.
Yeah, we touched on that last
every week. It seems like. And usually when it gets going, I get all wanting to pitch in, but by then it's too late. So,
well, you called it a good time.
And the guy earlier was referring to this a little bit, but my idea of morality is that what we call morality is how we judge right and wrong, and it is a combination of things. But it's how we evaluate what we think about what other people are doing, and it's about what we think we're doing, and it's it's based on an evaluation of is that good or bad or right and wrong. And where does it come from? Well, I think, to me, it came from my parents. And the whole thing of it comes from God or comes from it came from another person who, when they were raising me, and I, as a social creature, wanted to be a part of my family. I mean, when I was a young child, I just wanted to be accepted by my parents. When they told me something was bad, I felt bad. When they told me it was good, I felt good. And after a while, you internalize things, and the things that they teach you along with that, become your basis of deciding your morality.
Yeah.
And it just seems so easy to see that to me that maybe there's people who actually had God appear to them and directly tell them what was right and wrong. But I do not think that. I think that everyone, they got it from another person, and their intrinsic desire to be accepted by other humans and wanting to be a part of the society that they live in is a very, very strong natural impulse, and that's what creates it in the first place, and then we evolve it and learn it and become, internalize it, I guess. And the idea that it's absolute just seems ridiculous to me.
Well, that's morality certainly starts typically with your parents, because they just give you your ideas. It's what you grow up around.
Right.
But typically, your idea of what is moral will usually change over time. Once you're old enough to get out of the house and start seeing other ways of life and just seeing the rest of the world, essentially, you start altering your beliefs to a certain extent by just hopefully sitting down and thinking about things.
Well, that's right. I mean,
and seeing what works and what doesn't. So that's how society essentially evolves over time. And
right. I've changed. I'm the same way. I have lots of different views than I had when I first started, of course. But and one of the things is if caring about what other people, whether something is right and wrong, is what is moral, then why do you guys care? If you assume that morality comes from God, why would an atheist care at all about what anybody else did?
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, if you notice, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andy. Yeah.
Well, I care about what other people do because other people's actions affect my life. If some guy decides to be immoral and break into my apartment and steal everything I own, then I don't have my things to be able to go to school or eat or all those other things. So you have to care about what other people are doing in order to survive yourself or survive as a society.
It's always interesting to note that it's always believers that you hear saying things like, well, if there were no God, then there'd be no reason not to do this, that, and the other horrible thing. But you never hear atheists say that. So I think it's a little more of a reflection of, I think, what believers think about people than otherwise. So watching interesting. I've been reading up on this subject. Actually, I've been reading on through a book called The Origins of Virtue by Ridley, and I have this other book I haven't gotten into yet, Unto Others, which talks about behaviors that you would consider moral in many ways in other animal species and how it's all about. But what was most interesting was I was just last week watching the Science Channel, and they have a terrific series on there. It's called Evolutionary, which is all about biodiversity and evolution and what have you. And there was a show, I think it was like last Tuesday I was watching it, and they were talking about the development of the early hominids and why Homo sapiens survived and the others didn't. And a lot of it, and it occurred to me after watching this that this was a completely applicable explanation for why we have the moral precepts that we do. Because the reason for Homo sapiens' success as a species was, of course, that we developed a really big brain. Much bigger brain than any other hominid species before us. Like Homo erectus, which was what preceded Homo sapiens, was physically a very large creature. I mean, the male, over 6 feet tall on average.
Wow.
Very large physically, but they have brains like tennis balls, right? Just nothing. Homo erectus couldn't even talk. Okay, I mean, you didn't. But what you had, and there have been some others. There's, I think, the Heidelberg man, Homo heidelbergensis, also had a larger brain. Okay. And it's thought that Heidelberg man, of whom we've only found very, very few fossils, is very rare. Yeah. also had a brain almost as large as Homo sapiens, and there is evidence of artifacts that they have uncovered that indicate cooperation within the species. Because what you're able to do when you have a big brain, okay, is that you can develop this thing, you can communicate, you can develop this thing called language. Okay, and once you've developed language, you have the ability to make abstracts out of ideas, and you're beyond just being self-aware. Like any creature is self-aware, and your dog is aware of its own existence and safety. But you're also aware of others, and you are aware of the fact that, okay, I am this being, and I have these ideas, and I have these needs, and these feelings, and these responses to things emotionally. So maybe this person has the same ones because they're like me. You're able to project that. And once you can do that, you are able to do what's called cooperation, teamwork. It's cooperative behavior. And so what Homo sapiens was able to do was cooperate. You would get, like hunters in bands, would all get together and hunt bring down the mammoth. Where opposed to, if you were Homo erectus grubbing around for bugs and roots and whatever, if you don't have those skills, if you don't have the ability to communicate, if you don't have language, and if you can't cooperate, you're gonna die. Okay, when you are competing with a species that can do those things. And so once you have cooperation, once you have the idea of we need to work together for the good of everything, to get game, to find shelter, then you have the root of what can eventually develop into all of our basic moral precepts, because all the moral precepts that we have, they're rooted in the idea of cooperative behavior, right? The reason we say you shouldn't steal, and you shouldn't kill, and you shouldn't commit crimes is because those actions are contrary to cooperation. So it all is rooted in cooperation, and when that's just what. So we're moral because we have a big enough brain to be moral. That's why.
If we were all hermits, if we never saw another human, would we be able to do anything that was good or bad? It's basically, all related to how we treat each other. I even take it a step further and say that's where God came from, is because this is in our nature. We created God as part of our way of trying to figure out how to do things. As opposed to, do morals come from God? I say, God was created by humans as an idea that helps symbolize, form their moral precepts.
Because what is a God other than an idealized image of a human? It's humanity's idealized image of itself. It's what we want to. It's what we're not, and what we want to strive towards.
Well, that's really. Well, thanks for letting me have my 2 cents worth before the argument starts. No,
we appreciate your input. I'm glad somebody called and brought that up because it reminded me of that show. Okay, so who's on now? We have David on one. Let's see what he has to say. Hi, you're on the air.
Hello, how are you doing?
We are well.
I have a question for each one of you.
Yes, sir.
What is your purpose of life? Yours individually. What is your purpose?
Who wants to start?
Sure, we'll go this way to that. Purpose in life is something that I have given it. I've decided that my family, my friends are really important to me, and I'm going to do, whatever I can to try and, enjoy life with them. My job is really important. I have a lot of fun at it, so that has a lot of meaning for me too. It's basically just trying to make a mark on the world. So have people realize and enjoy life and try and make a difference. Make somebody else's life better because I've been around. So that would be a good thing.
Yeah. I would agree with that largely. I have to say, my purpose in life is to contribute as best I can.
Yeah.
Do the things that I enjoy, and do those things in such a way that maybe they'll, bring a little joy to some other folks. My career is, I'm creative in my career. I've been an artist. I'm moving into filmmaking, things like that, and I want to do things that are positive in a creative sense. So that would be my career choice. In my friendships, I just want to, be there for the people that I care about, and just, you always want to make sure that you're, in the time that you've got, that you just, spread as much, just so that you're remembered fondly, and that you inspire people to do other things that are good for other folks. So that's what I've decided.
To me, my goal in life is to do what I can to make life better for everybody now, but to also improve it for the next generation. It's like when my nephew's my age, maybe because of me, his life will be easier, there'll be different things he can do, or his kids have a better life just because I was here.
Okay.
Yes, let me ask you this. Do you think that your concept of purpose has any effect or is in agreement with the purpose of anyone else's life that's on the face of the earth?
Mike, I don't know. You'd have to ask them. I mean, I think that most people in any culture that you look at, fundamentally want the same things. They want to be happy in their lives. They want to feel safe and secure. They want to have ties with people close to them, whether it's family or friends. I think that's really what most people, just in anywhere you go to, from America to Zimbabwe, you're going to find people fundamentally want the same things. They want to be safe, they want to be healthy and happy, and they want to get along.
Then where do all these people come from that are causing the problems then?
I think that, you find a lot of ideology. When you have either very strong religious or political ideologies, it leads to things like people not being cooperative with one another, and you run into conflicts between one group of folks saying we're right, the other group of folks saying no, we're right. And so that's why you have the Muslims and the Jews fighting. That's why you have the Catholics and the Protestants killing each other in Northern Ireland. That's why you have Islamic extremists crashing planes into buildings. It's not always religious, though. Of course, it can be political. You have like democracy versus fascism in World War II. Democracy versus communism in Vietnam. Yeah. So it's extremist political and religious ideologies. I think you'll always find at the root of major human conflicts.
And these ideologies just spring from humans. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. Yeah.
Show up and all little groups over here and little groups over there all agree with each other. For instance, I'm going to say it this way. I've heard very often that religions are at the base of all of these problems we face. Under Stalin, there were 60 million people in the Soviet Union killed, literally,
right,
or more.
Right. Well,
under Hitler, millions of people were killed. Under the Pol Pot, Cambodia, 2.5, 3 million people literally slaughtered. In Rwanda, 2.5 million slaughtered with machetes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think those would be political ideologies. Okay, those would be atrocities as a result of political ideologies.
Are you excusing it because it's political?
No, I'm saying that that's the reason. I'm not
saying the reasoning is different.
Yeah, I mean the political idea. There are, for example, like you have religious ideologies such as Al Qaeda, such as the Roman Catholic Church in the medieval times with the Inquisition, with the Crusades, various pogroms. And of course, you have Northern Ireland today. So there are examples of conflicts that are based on religious ideologies, and then you have stuff like communism and fascism, which are political ideologies.
Now, let me ask you this.
So they're not all religious.
The things that you were saying you wanted was really to spread good things among people that you knew.
Right.
What if you lived in Rwanda? What if you had lived under Stalin?
Well, I would try to get out of there.
Would you have gone to fight? Would you have gone to lay your life down for someone else?
I would like to think that if I were in Stalinist Russia, I probably would have been one of the millions of people that he killed in his purges.
But in Rwanda, you would not go to defend other people.
Well, I would probably, depending. I mean, these are hypothetical situations.
Yeah, depends on your beliefs and your situation. I mean, I can't say what would I do if I were, in a certain situation, because I may not know.
Yeah, I mean, I would like, if I were in the situation where there was some sort of horrible tyrant, right, trying to put me down, well, I would, try to resist that as best I could. If I ended up having to leave the country, okay, like you had Jews who got smart very early on and saw what was coming with the rise of National Socialism and got the heck out of there. I would, if that's what you had to do sometimes, to just leave, if you had to leave your land and leave where you grew up simply because the people in power that were coming into power were just too dangerous and massive of a force, to move and then maybe fight the fight from elsewhere. Like you had in World War II, you had a lot of Jewish scientists and intellectuals leave Germany, leave Poland, Austria, leave those areas prior to the outbreak of World War II. They came to America. and helped and many of them helped in our war effort.
And not only to help in the war effort with the scientific stuff, but just the general people telling everybody else
this is what's going on. Yeah,
it added to the outrage.
Yeah. So, I mean, everyone would like to believe they'd be as strong as they possibly could. I mean, I certainly wouldn't sit back if I saw a massive injustice taking place and just say, oh well, there's nothing I can do about it. But if the thing that I could do about it didn't involve just standing in front of a tank like the guy in Tiananmen Square. I mean, you can do that if that's a certain level of courage, or you can do it other ways just by making it known. You can
spreading your own idea.
Small ways.
Spreading your own idea that there's a better way to.
Hopefully, we'll never have to
run the world.
Hopefully, we'll never have to endure that. I mean, hopefully, what is great about our society, what's great about America, is that you do have this sort of free and open exchange of ideas in the public sphere. You don't, admittedly, you don't have that in more oppressive regimes. And so, what I think is very precious in this country is to sort of keep this dialogue going, so that nobody from any ideology, whether it's from the right or the left, can put a stop to that. And I'm sad that I'm already seeing it to a certain degree being the accepted way of thinking here in this country, that dissent is bad. If you dissent at all against whatever the Bush administration is doing, you're a bad American, you're a traitor, what have you. It's crazy that what a lot of the political extremists in this country are starting to say. I mean, these are very un-American concepts that really need to be nipped in the bud and say, no. I mean, there's nothing wrong with challenging authority. In fact, I think if you really do believe that authority is in the wrong, you've got a moral duty to challenge it.
That's why we have elections every 4 years, so we can challenge the authority.
Anything else?
Well, I would just like to tell you what I think.
Okay.
I think, and I perceive that there is evidence for this, that there really is good and there really is evil. Mm-hmm. And when real good is constantly questioned, the belief, the essence of it, as far as the individual is concerned, it destroys what we look at as good.
So you're saying
what would
evil has, imagine you've heard of Hegelian thought, where you're constantly questioning. The whole concept of Hegelian thought is to question what is good, what is the purpose another person has, whether it's good or bad. It is intolerant in Hegelian thought to be a Christian, because a Christian has a definite belief. And from the scriptures, certain statements are made that are intolerant. So what I'm saying is, in a world where I perceive there is good, there is evil, it is bad news for all of us to see real good attacked.
Well, I would have, my first question to you, of course, is to define real good. What are you referring to when you refer to this real good that's being attacked?
Real good can only come from God.
Okay,
the reason
explain that.
It is not, God is not me.
Wait a minute.
I am not defining.
Wait a minute. Explain that, though. How can real good come from God? I mean, it would still have to have. There would still have to be a reason why that thing was good, even if it came from God, and that reason would exist independently of God. I mean, whether real good comes from God.
That's a statement that is sort of confining to God, isn't it? It would have to do what?
There has to be a reason that killing someone is bad. If it's just arbitrarily handed down that killing is bad, rape is bad,
don't do it because I say don't do it.
Absolutely nothing if you can't think of a reason as to, wow, murder sucks because reason 1, 2, and 3.
If you have to explain take into account the rest of the scripture, you understand that it is.
Well, wait a minute. I want to get to the root of what you're talking about, though. I mean, it's whether good and again, as I don't. Of course, we disagree with this, but how it is that this can just be a thing that is handed down by an authority figure who says, this is what is good. I mean, it would the thing that is good would still have to have a reason why it was good, whether it was handed to you by an authority figure or whether it was decided upon by a cultural consensus or by an individual. There would still have to be reasons why the thing was good, and those reasons would exist independently of the person who decided it was good. And that goes for God as well as man.
I would call into question some of the things you've said there.
Go right ahead.
Number one is to state that good has to be separate from God.
Okay, this is all like you haven't even. Well, first, we haven't even proven God exists. All right, so this is a hypothesis. So I don't even really know what it means.
I am not trying to prove that He exists.
Well, you're trying to make the moral argument for God, so you are trying to prove God exists.
No, you are saying that He doesn't exist, but you're not coming up with proof that He doesn't.
We don't believe in God, and we don't bear the burden of proof. Okay?
Because we have no proof of God, we don't believe in one.
Yes. Okay.
My proof has been in what I read in the Scripture and what I have seen. I have been in many locations on the face of this earth, and I have seen that what was stated in the Scriptures thousands of years ago is still true, that mankind has still not evolved into some psychologically great animal. We are still a creature that is very different and separate from the animals, and we have similar concepts that we follow, and some of them are good, and a great number of them are evil.
So
in other words, they produce things that are not good for a good number of people.
Yeah, but you don't think that people have developed at all in that regard in terms of getting rid of old bad ideas that weren't helpful and that weren't working?
Psychologically, is that what you're talking about?
Well, just culturally. I mean, you're saying that you don't think the human race has evolved into thinking that okay, here's an idea that we tried out for a while, and it turned out to be bad for folks, so we're not doing that anymore. Is that what you mean when you say that you don't think humans have evolved into greater sophistication in that regard? I mean...
Well, and I'm going to express myself, and I mean no harm to anyone by saying this, but I really find it preposterous to hear that we want to be new and not have wars and such, and to exist in the real world and to think that is preposterous. There is a constant struggle. There is a constant battle out here outside of the United States because we live in a bubble where there are people who are protecting us daily that we never hear about. They die daily all over the world protecting us. And we can sit here and say, we don't like war because we won't get along. Well, if you want to go out into the world and really try to get along, you better get accustomed to dealing with pirates.
Well, not liking war does not mean that there are times when you have to, you won't have to face reality and look at yourself and say a situation that's like the only way we can vanquish this thing that is a threat to us is through conflict. I don't think that soldiers who are war heroes like war. I think that just about everyone deplores it, but at the time it is an unfortunate necessity when it is the only way to resolve a major conflict. It doesn't happen as often as it could, though, because I think for the most part people cooperate. It's only when you run into, again, like I said, these conflicting ideologies that you get those kinds of sharp conflicts. But I think, as we stated before your call, I don't know if you heard us, but it is natural for people to want to cooperate with each other. But it is admittedly, though, our civilizations and the way they have developed, and we have developed our civilizations along different lines, is that even though I think overall most people have the same fundamental moral precepts under which they live, the differences will sprout ideologies, and then the ideologies will generate their own extremists, and not everyone who follows a particular ideology is an extremist. Not every liberal is a wacko. Not every conservative is a wacko.
The concept of that we are generally wanting to cooperate is to ignore what is going on in Europe. I mean, the people were separated, and they have separated intentionally. They came up with completely different languages.
Yeah,
they have not cooperated with people outside of their borders for centuries.
And that is the cultural influence taking place.
We have the same thing here. We have the same thing in China. We have the same thing in Russia.
Sure.
But also look at the flip side of the coin. We are the United States of America. Europe is now the European Economic Community. I mean, it's a joining force. It's people realizing that, hey, if I'm a different faction from everybody else, it doesn't work nearly as well as if I work with them to actually get something done.
There's the idea behind the United Nations. I don't know how well it's panned out, but overall, after World War II, you got the United Nations, which was all rooted in this idea of, okay, let's try to cooperate so that we don't have a World War III.
Exactly.
Now, does that desire automatically make all ideologies evaporate and everyone has a big group hug session? No, it's not as easy as that. You're quite right in that it does require constant work. But fortunately, I mean, there's that work doesn't always take the form of violent conflict.
If you take the UN, for instance, that you just spoke about, where the people say they want to cooperate, look at what they do. Look at the legislation that is produced there. It is to get away from the voting of the individual and to have a consensus where there is no vote and where it doesn't matter if you join or not. If the consensus is large enough, then it is law.
Well, that's politics,
that
right?
Not cooperation.
That's called politics, right?
No, that's worse than politics. That's called taking over.
Well, no, it's called I mean, every member country in the United Nations gets to vote on a thing.
No, I'm saying they don't. They don't vote.
Well, you can abstain.
Hear me from what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The systems that they have set up that deal with Agenda 21, the biodiversity, all of these were not voted on. A consensus was formed. That is a quote. Consensus was formed.
Well, then, if a consensus was formed, there may not have been a need for a vote.
Exactly. I mean, if you can get everyone...
The Kyoto Treaty is there was a consensus effort to get it done, and the United States pulled its signature off of it.
Yeah, and I think that which I think was misguided, but yeah, I mean, that's politics. That's all you're describing.
And it sounds like what they're trying to do there.
We're talking about taking over.
Yeah, but it sounds like what they're trying. What they're trying to do there is when you get several people together, you can either say, okay, I want to spend $1 million to do this. Now let's vote on it. Or you can say, I want to spend $1 million and here's why I want to do it. If you can get everybody to agree with you because you have a really good reason for doing such, then that's a much better way of doing things than saying, I don't care about the arguments. I'm just going to vote yay or nay.
Yeah. Okay.
I would rather be able to get everybody to work together and realize that, okay, the reason we're doing this is because we have good reasons for it, and here's what they are.
Yeah. And if your arguments are sound and are persuasive, you can reach a consensus without the need for...
Then a consensus will be reached.
Any, undue wrangling,
Exactly.
In the Kyoto Treaty, it was decided that the industrialized nations would have to pay major prices and get rid of all of their industrialization. And China would still not be accounted for.
Well, yeah,
now,
and not everyone's
an agreement to get out of it, seems to me.
Right. Well,
would you want to go back and not have air conditioning or electricity?
We're getting off message here. We're now getting this. This isn't really a show about politics. This is a show about atheism. But you're right. Not everyone agrees with everything, but it is a constant effort, and it does take a lot of work. And I think that if you don't like what's going on in the United Nations, then become more politically active yourself and do something about it. But listen, we appreciate your input. We have a bunch of other callers on the line, and we really need to move on now. All right. But thank you, Dave. Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, they could have just gone on forever. If who's next?
Who's next?
Would it be line 2 or line 3?
Sure.
Line. Okay. Hey, you're on the air. Thanks for waiting.
So I'm on the air?
You're on the air.
Oh. This is weird.
Do you have a question?
Do you have a question for us?
Yeah. I can hear myself.
Yeah, okay. Turn off your TV.
Yeah, you'll need to mute your television.
All right.
All right. Sorry. John, you're on. I'm just not going to wait around all day for that guy to, Hi, you're on the air?
Hello?
Yeah, hi, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
can hear you just great.
Hey, my name's Mark. I just wanted to say I'm a supporter of you guys, and I have to commend you for having so much patience.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't. Yeah. It's doing air traffic control here can sometimes be tricky.
I really don't have anything to discuss. Just that I'm a supporter, and I'm glad you've moved on. So.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We try to keep people on message here, and I know that there are a lot of folks. Always, get a little paranoid about what the UN is up to and all that.
Yeah.
It's just but that's not what we're here to talk about. There are those shows, but this is not the show to vent a particular political point of view. This is an atheism show.
Yeah.
Not a politics
Hey, can you guys tell me something?
Yes.
How can I get a bumper sticker? You got any?
I think so, yeah. Well, try coming by the Bagel Shop meetings. I think our merchandise person has tons.
We have quite a few out there at the Bagel Shop.
Great, we'll do that.
All right.
All right, well, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for calling.
Okay. All right, maybe this is our caller back. No, see, we are, Karen, we're all off kilter here, because I just hung up on 3, and the only name you have is on 3. So who's on the line?
Okay, we have
10 minutes left of the show, so what I'm going to do before we take our next caller, while we're getting that name lined up, there's no one on line 3. It's a blank light. Okay.
Okay.
All right, that must have been the guy who just tried it. No, well, he's gone now, too. We only have line 1. Let's figure out who that is. And while we're doing that, TV at atheist-community.org. Say this is a very bustling, active show, and we never end up getting around to all the callers. But we have our viewer email feedback address, which is TV at atheist-community.org. If you want to drop us a line, ask us questions. We answer all the emails we get. Sometimes, if they're really good, the best ones we'll bring on the show and we'll answer on the air. There it is, at the bottom of your screen. And we may put some good ones up on the website, too. I'm freezing in here, guys. My teeth are chattering. I hate that. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, we can't, and just want to make sure we can't tell people where, they can get stuff and buy stuff. But that's, so sorry about that. And I keep forgetting, they do have very strict rules here about a call to action. But we do want to encourage all atheists and unbelievers to come to our Bagel Shop meetings where you can meet other folks. Because that is what the Bagel Shop meetings are for. Come to the meetings and meet us if you would like to meet other like-minded individuals. And now we have a full lineup of calls that we're not going to be able to get to everybody. But that's why TV at atheist-community.org exists. It's your viewer email feedback address. If you got questions, send them in. We'll talk back and forth, and we'll try to answer you. So who's on the line? We have line 1, line 2, and line 3 blinking.
Shall we just take line 1?
Yeah, we're not going to care. We're getting so many mixed signals.
We're just going to take line 1.
It seems chaotic right now. We all seem very, very disorganized.
So,
so Andy, so any opportunity that we may see you back here reasonably soon? You're going to come back for the holiday or something?
I'm graduating on the 18th, but I don't walk until December.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be back in December, but my family will be here, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get away. My mom does not know about ACA.
Well.
So...
Well, throw her in the deep end. Okay, is this the fellow who just tried to call us on line 1 now?
Well, we know the name, so let's be happy.
Yeah, go ahead. Hi, is this John?
Hello?
Is this John?
This is John.
Okay, good. You got your sound fixed.
Yeah.
You want to go? Okay, what can we do for you?
Well, it's in St. John chapter 10, verse 30, but it's beneath verse 30. It's in St. John, and it states that we are gods, small G-O-D-S, that we are gods,
Yeah, I think the Mormons take that rather literally, don't they? They're the ones who like.
When we die, we get to have our own little universe to play with.
No, I'm not a god, but it states that we are gods.
Okay.
In chapter 10 of verse St. John chapter 10.
There's a lot of wacky books out there that say a lot of wacky things.
Yeah.
I agree. It just came out of the library like any other book,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But well.
And if it floats, it's a winner. If it sinks, it's a dead.
Well, a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there that's I mean, you can make jokes about things that float that you wouldn't necessarily. So there's a lot of things that float that
moving right along
that I wouldn't want to get, that I wouldn't want to dig my hands into.
Well, if it's going to state that we are gods, in the book, then what the hell.
Well, I don't take that seriously either. I'm not so arrogant as to I
know I'm not a god. I wouldn't want to be.
The point of view of the humanist, and I think that of most atheists in general, is that we are all a part of nature. And that's why we have a responsibility to ourselves and each other and everybody else in this big wide world we live in order to make it the best place it can be.
It's in St. John chapter 10.
Well, good for it being in St. John chapter 10. We don't.
All right, check you later.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, we don't use St. John chapter or anything for anything else. So
more than Harry Potter chapter 3.
Yeah. So why do we? How do you care? And our last caller for the day will be Ed, I do believe. Hi, you're on the air.
Hey guys, how's it going? I really enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. We're a little discombobulated right now. I think it's because it's freezing in here.
Well, I was flipping channels the other night, and I caught the end of a local fundamentalist show, and I actually caught like the tail end of an atheist caller who mentioned your show. and they kind of proceeded to take a few cheap shots at you guys. They said,
yeah, we heard about that.
Sunday, so Christians can't call in. I'm like, it's at 4:30. It's not like it's at 10 in the morning or something.
We used to be at 9 in the morning.
We used to be at 9.
Really?
Yeah.
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 Well, I was just wondering, he said something really interesting. He said that he'd be open to a debate. I was wondering if you guys have heard of anything like this. And I swear I would give anything to see you guys debate those fundamentalists.
You know, our view on that is, it's been my experience that when Christians say that they want like to debate in front of a crowd, that really it's, you know, what they're interested in is getting in front of a big cheering crowd of their supporters and lobbing a bunch of ad hominem attacks at atheists. Our view, no, this isn't really our view. My personal view, right, is that when the religious community, when Christians demonstrate that they have a position worth debating, then I think that it will be, you know, then public debate will be warranted. And if they can provide any good, solid evidence for this invisible friend of theirs, I'll be delighted to look at it. Okay, and then at that point we can determine, you know, what sort of being is this God? Is worshiping this being a relevant thing to do? Is it the appropriate thing to do? What does it even mean for there to be a God? What does morality mean vis-a-vis a God? Otherwise not. But I think that, you know, I mean, first they need to sort of, you know, show us the beef in terms of, you know, proving these supernatural claims that they believe in.
Right.
Okay. And usually what all they've really got is what we had this caller earlier try to do, which is reframe atheism so that it's a religion itself. You know, not, you know, it's all straw man arguments that you get. It's all ad hominem attacks. You know, trying to say, oh, well, you guys, I mean, we can do this all day. You know, so we don't believe in God. So you guys believe there is no God. No, we don't believe in any gods. So you guys have a religion that says that you believe there's, no, we do, you know, it's just running around and around and around. And it's now, not everyone's like that. But again, I mean, if I think that a public debate, I've done this before, I've said this before, and I always get snide remarks when I say it, is here's how we do it. Okay. We will appear on we'll get behind the podium. I have a tennis ball, okay, and I have a volunteer, okay,
right,
and from the audience or anybody, and I'm going to throw this tennis ball at your head as hard as I can. If God doesn't want this tennis ball to hit this person, he can stop it in midair, okay. If the ball is stopped in midair, I will believe that a God exists, or that some massive supernatural force that I can't explain that's watching me and watching what I do. I'll go ahead and believe it, and there. Okay, debate's over. I will concede defeat.
Right.
Okay, it's very easy. There's no real need, I think, to go into a big protracted debate. It's, you know, if you believe that there's this all-powerful supernatural invisible being monitoring the universe, here, let me throw my tennis ball at Ashley. Or let me throw my tennis ball at a little puppy, and if God stopped, you know, which I'd never do, of course, but you know, so I'm being humorous now. But I mean, if God stops the ball in mid-throw, and you know, I'll be real impressed, and I'll believe in him lickety split.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It always seems like there's endless religious loopholes they can kind of take to sort of duck these real arguments. But I've always just wanted to see them get their noses rubbed in their own hypocrisy, you know. But
now there have been good debates that have been undertaken between like theologians and skeptics. Different professors of history and things like that. I mean, Michael Shermer, Paul Kurtz, people like that have debated theologians on just the nature of God. And now, if that ended, all I gave you was my personal point of view. You could talk to somebody like Shermer or James Randi or some other atheist who might think that a debate is perfectly reasonable. But in terms of that, you know, we open up the phones to people to call us up and tell us why they think we're wrong. And I think in that regard, we're doing our duty in terms of letting people vent conflicting points of view and challenge our opinions and give us the reasons why, you know, we shouldn't be atheists, and it's a back and forth thing.
And for 5.5 years, it hasn't worked, so we're still here.
Well, I mean, it has worked insofar as we keep the debate going.
Well, yeah, it works more as debate, but you know, we haven't changed our minds.
Yeah,
so.
but because that would take some good evidence and not just a bunch of arguments or trying to hit us with straw man attacks.
Exactly,
and, you know,
or tennis balls.
Yeah, so yeah, that's my take on it, and you know, if I'm wrong, I'll be happy to admit it. But
well, I really enjoy the show, guys.
Thank you very much. What do you think? I mean, having a formalized debate on stage, on this subject, I don't think the time is really necessary for it.
If they were serious about that, they would have called us and not just said it on air for their viewers to hear only.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But instead of calling one of their own shows, call one of ours, and I'll tell you what I just told you. Just tell me right now why I'm wrong. Yeah. Theists, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.